start our practice test, okay? Well, let's do this, because we're going to have a little quiz just like this tomorrow. So here we go. Number one, how much? 36% solution. All right, as soon as I start reading this, I immediately think amount times percent plus amount times percent equals amount times percent, right? Yes, Mrs. Ford, here we go. Let's plug in everything we know. So what can I plug in? 36, 45, and 42. And there says 4 quarts in there. Where does that 4 go?
In the middle.
In the middle with the 45, right? 4 quarts of 45%. How much? X. Now these are being added together. So what goes here? 4 plus X or X plus 4. These two added together. Remember, if the one you're trying to fill in is here, sometimes it's here, then it wouldn't be 4 plus X, it would be 4 minus X, if it's here. All right, so here we go, 0.36X plus, all right, you guys have calculators, I'm kind of winging this, I need your help. I want to make sure I get it right. Don't just copy mine down. Will someone check it for me? Is it right?
Yeah. Yes.
You okay, Magnus?
Your pencil sharpener is broken.
It's broken. Use the one back there behind that box. Who broke my pencil sharpener? Magnus. Did you break my pencil sharpener?
Magnus.
Okay, so what happens now? Start moving things around, right? So we'll move this over. Be real careful with those decimal points. Honestly, you have a calculator. I would just encourage you to use it. Did you get 2 quarts?
Yeah.
Anybody have a question about that? It seems like we've been doing those forever.
Why did I get? Oh,
All right, let's read the next problem. We got Jade and Gia taking the test. Takes Jade 6 hours. If Gia helps, takes him 4 hours. How long will it take Gia alone? So when we do a mixture problem, this is what pops into our head.
1 over.
What about when we do a work problem?
1 over
1 over alone plus 1 over alone equals 1 over together. So there's 2 numbers in the problem. There's a 6 and a 4. Where does the 6 go? Right here, right? So 1 over 6. Where does the 4 go?
Together.
That's over here. So what goes here?
X.
1 over X. So it's 1 over the first person's time alone plus 1 over the second person's time alone equals 1 over their time together. Easy. Now I'm going to multiply to clear those denominators. It's just like the one we did earlier. So I'm going to multiply by 6 and 4 and X. Now, some of you, I'm doing this because I think it might be easier for some of you. If you recognize that the common denominator is 12X, multiply by 12X, that's fine. But I'm going to multiply by 6 and X and 4. And what's going to happen is the 6's are going to cancel and leave me with 4X. the x's are going to cancel and leave me with 24. And the 4's are going to cancel and leave me with 6x. Everybody following? So 24 equals 2x and x equals 12 hours. Tomorrow we have a quiz like that. Everybody okay with that? Well, we can take it right now if you want to take it right now.
Let's do it right now.
We just went over it. It's better to do it
We do it if we want to.
And the people that want to take it, take it.
Well, let's do that. We'll take it now, and if you don't take it now, you have to take it before school tomorrow. It'll be like a makeup quiz you can take tomorrow before school. What's the matter, Magnus?
Let's do it.
Before school, I
Think that's a bit much?
kind of forcing
All right,
everybody.
let's take a vote. How many, if we don't have at least half that want to take it now, we won't do it now. Who wants to take it now? Okay, that's not quite half. Tell you what, those of you that want to take it during flex, I will let you take this during flex.
We have
counties.
We have county.
Oh shoot, that's right.
Should we just take it out for one?
No, because I don't have time. I can't wait last time twice. So we'll take it tomorrow. That was my original plan. All right, here we go. Here we go. Practice test number 1. Look, it's a whole page. And this is exactly what the test looks like. So here we go. Got a whole page. This stuff has to be filled in, and you got to draw a picture. So, what do you want to do to get started? Actually, you can tell the horizontal asymptote right from the beginning. Normally, I would not want you doing anything here until you took care of business. But the horizontal asymptote, you can tell from the beginning. What is it? Y equals 1. Now, you can tell that later on, too. You don't have to do it right off the bat. But you can always tell your horizontal asymptote from the original problem. All right, now what? Let's factor. Because anything else you try to find, you're going to run into issues with. So let's go ahead and factor. The bottom is easy. X plus 2, x minus 2. Difference of squares. Emma, you paying attention, sweetheart? Okay. What's on top?
X plus 2, X minus 3.
X plus 2, x minus 3. And again, I got a lot of points writing on this, so I'm going to do a quick FOIL in my head. Outside, inside adds up to -1. So he's got it factored correctly. And if I'm speaking a language you don't understand, again, get in here and get some help. You need to be able to factor that. Now, what happens when I factor it?
You get a whole.
I can cancel. And that immediately means I'm going to have a hole. And where is that hole going to be?
-2.
At where x is -2. So then I'll come back over here and I'll plug in -2. So -2 minus 3.
-5.
-2 minus 2.
-4.
So 5/4. Notice where I plug the -2 in is the thing in the box. That's where everything gets plugged in. Notice those of you that factored first, do you still get a horizontal asymptote at 1? Yeah, x over x. So -2 5/4. Remember, if you're having a hard time figuring out where to plot things, either type 5 divided by 4 in your calculator and get a decimal, or remember 5/4 is 1 1/4. All right, what else do you know? Got to fill in some other stuff here.
I might got this wrong, so vertical asymptote, I got 2.
Vertical asymptote, he got x equals 2. Is he right?
Yes.
Yes, because x equals 2 is what makes the denominator 0. So that's his vertical asymptote. Notice if he just writes 2, he misses half credit, which is dum dum dum. X equals 2. Vertical asymptote crosses the x-axis. X equals 2. All right, what else? Our intercepts are points, remember? And one of the coordinates is 0. If it's the x-intercept, it's the y that's 0. If it's the y-intercept, it's the x that's 0. So you have this equation. Do not make this hard, people. This says y is 0. So put 0 in for y. What do you get when you solve that? When you solve that equation, what do you get?
3.5.
Don't you get x equals 3?
Yes.
So we'll plot the point 3, 0. Now let x be 0. If you let x be 0, you have 0 minus 3 over 0 minus 2. What is that?
3.5.
3 halves. 1 1/2. Everything's filled in. Now we got to sketch the picture. Can you see it? Can you see a reciprocal function going like this? Because I'm not going to trick you. This is what your test question is going to look like. You can do this. Notice that these arrows are following the asymptotes. Don't give me any of this action. Don't start swinging them up or swinging them in or something weird. They follow their asymptotes. Everybody's turning the page. We got it. Good job. What's on the next page? Solve the following. Okay, what do you think about the first problem there? Solve the following.
You gotta get it equal to 0.
Gotta get it equal to 0. Very good, Jalen. We gotta get it equal to 0. It's an inequality. Inequalities and quadratics, x squareds, you have to get equal to 0. Now, so get equal to 0. Okay, now what?
Then
Exactly, we have to factor. There's a GCF, so we're going to take it out. Now, is there any other factoring? No, this thing is factored now. So we go to our number line and we put 2 dots on the number line. The dots would be closed and they would be at 0 and 6. Now, this is a normal, simple, basic problem. Do you see any squares on these factors? No, there's 2 dots. With 2 dots, unless there's squares in the problem, you're always going to either shade outside or inside. This is a greater than. Greater thans are shaded out. If that doesn't make sense to you or you're confused by that, what can you do to figure out where to shade?
Go flex.
What? Well, yes, you can come to flex, but what else can you do right now? Plug in a number, right? Plug in a number and see if it works or not. Yes, coming to flex, coming to open gym, those are always good options. All right, so what's my answer? Everything less than or equal to 0 or greater than or equal to 6. If you like interval notation, negative infinity to 0 or 6 to infinity. Remember, if you shaded 2 sections of the number line, your answer has to be in 2 pieces. If there's 2 shadings, you have to have 2 pieces of answer. B is the hard problem. It's not really hard, but it's the hardest, I think. So who remembers how we start our way through this one?
Equals 0.
You gotta have a 0. Same thing as over here, guys. It's an inequality, so we gotta get 0. So I'm gonna subtract over the 6. And when I subtract it over, I'm gonna write it as 6 over 1 to remind me that I have 2 fractions. And when I subtract 2 fractions, I need to get a common denominator, which is easy because this is a 1. So my common denominator is just going to be x plus 3.
Yes.
So my common denominator is x plus 3. And I'm going to write 1 fraction now. So I have x minus 2, be careful, minus, what's here? 6x,
Minus 6, yeah.
and then minus 18.
Yes.
That's a negative 6, guys. If it helps you, think of it as plus or minus. It's a negative 6. So it's negative 6x, negative 18. So negative 5x minus 20. These are the tough ones. Everybody still with me?
Yes.
Bo, you with me, sweet pea?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, try to look up here. We're gonna have 2 dots on the number line. And the dots are gonna come, one's gonna come from the denominator, and that's gonna be negative 3. And one's gonna come from the numerator, but that's a little harder for me to see because of all those negatives floating around. So I'm gonna, over to the side, set it equal to 0. And it looks like that dot is at negative 4. So I have a dot at negative 4 and a dot at negative 3. Here's another tricky component. You'll want to close them in, and you do, except the ones that come out of the denominator. Denominator dots must always be open. So that guy's open, but this one you can close.
Okay, so say you brought, if you were to factor it, say you took out negative 5 and then got x
Plus 4.
4, yeah.
That would mean your dot's at negative 4.
Okay, yeah, because that's not
Yeah.
I just did it.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Alright.
Absolutely fine. As long as you're getting a dot at negative 4, it's good. Now, we have to shade somewhere. Again, if you remember your shortcut, this is a tricky one though. Let's, these hard problems are tricky. Let's just check a spot. What number? Pick a number. Negative 2 over here. Okay, so we're picking negative 2. Oops, the fraction. What happens when I put negative 2 in? Where's my problem? Negative 2 would give me what?
Make sure 10.
Positive
10 minus 20.
Yes.
Negative 10
Negative
over
10.
1.
And negative 2 over 1. So that's a negative number. Is that less than 0?
Yes.
Yes.
So that works. See, these hard problems are weird. They break all the rules. So doesn't work, does work. The alternating thing still works, but that's shading, picking the shading spot, that's tricky. So I have an answer that looks just like that one. I'm less than or equal to negative 4 or greater than negative 3. if you want to write that as an interval, you can. Negative infinity to negative 4 bracket, or parentheses, negative 3 positive infinity. Again, it's a two-part answer, so we got to have, if there's a two-part graph, we have to have a two-part answer. Two separate pieces.
Since we don't shade in the negative 3, does that change the sign? It's just greater than?
Yes, so it's just greater than that, greater than or equal to, yes.
Going to x, why isn't the negative 3?
Okay, why isn't the negative 3 shaded? We talked about this the other day. Anybody remember? And what's the difference if it's in the denominator? Denominators can't equal 0. So if you put in negative 3, that would give you a 0. It can't be. Okay, next. This is kind of a hard page. We got another little bit tricky one here. What makes this one tricky? The square. Now, it's all factored, so it starts out easy. We're going to have 2 dots. They're going to be closed. Right? No denominators for that, so there's closed dots at negative 4 and 1. But what makes this tricky is you have to check every single spot. So you're going to be picking 3 numbers and checking every single one, because this is the only kind of problem that doesn't alternate. Even this hard one over here alternated, so I didn't need to check every spot. This one I have to check every single spot. So you're going to pick a number over here like negative 5, and you're going to put it in. Negative 5 plus 4,
Negative 1.
but it's squared, so it's 1.
But it's not less than 0.
Times negative 5 minus 1, which is negative 6. Multiplying them together, is that less than 0?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Oh,
that
you have
does
to do
work.
both?
Yes.
Oh,
You have to put it in for every x
Right.
in the whole problem. Now I got to go to this one. So a number in there might be
Negative 3.
negative 3.
Isn't alternate?
It doesn't alternate because of the squared. Okay, it doesn't alternate because of the squared. So I have to check every one. This is the only kind of problem I need to check them all. So somebody said negative 3. So negative 3 plus 4 is 1, squared is 1. Negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. Is that less than 0?
Yes.
So that gets shaded in. All right, now pick a number out here. 2. 2 plus 4 is 6, squared is 36. 2 minus 1 is 1. Is that less than 0? No. Now, if you're really, really paying attention this morning, you can look at this and say, Mrs. Ford, the answer to the problem is everything less than or equal to 1. Because even though I did it in 2 separate chunks, I had to. Do you see how it's all connected? Right? Now, some of you might say, well, it's everything less than 4 and everything in between, or negative 4 and everything in between negative 4 and 1. But if you really think about that, it's actually everything less than 1. So in terms of an interval, it would look like that.
Can there ever be one of those where it's all real numbers?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely there can be. I think we had one in our notes that was no solution. Sometimes when you check them, nothing works. Sometimes everything works. Who knows? Every problem's different. All right. Oh my goodness, the hits just keep coming. What about this guy?
Yeah.
He's a mess. What are we thinking here? Should I add 15 first?
Yeah.
Does this group? Oh goodness gracious, it's got a 9 and a 23 and a 15. I don't think it's gonna group. What do I do if it doesn't group?
PRR.
PRRs. and synthetic division. So what are my PRRs? What are my options? Factors of 15. So 1, 3, 5, and 15?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of you love the number 2. You think 2 works all the time, not this time, right? 2 is not even an option. So 1 is an option, -1, 3, -3, those are options. So what do you want to try? -1? Okay, this has 3 factors. I gotta figure out what they are. So I'm trying -1, so here we go. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Our lucky day. -1 worked.
You should go to Vegas.
So one of my factors, remember you're trying to factor, one of them is what? X plus 1. Remember when you do the division, it's the opposite? Now what? You can use the quadratic formula, or this actually factors pretty easily.
X plus 5, X plus 3.
X plus 3, X plus 5. Certainly, you can use the quadratic formula though. So we've done all that work, now we got it factored. So now we'll draw a number line. And this time, there's 1, 2, 3 dots on the number line. They're all colored in. Again, the only time I worry about not coloring in is if I have a denominator. There's no denominator, so I'm gonna color them all in. And they're at -5, -3, and -1. Make sure you're in the right order. Zero's out here. Pick a number. 0, I love it, 0. Let's put 0 in right here. 0's here. Put it in, I get 1 times 3 times 5.
It's 15.
Is that less than 0?
No.
No. So I'm not going to shade here.
Shade.
So I'll shade here, not in here. Remember, the only problem that you have to check every single spot is this one. The rest of them, if you check 1, then you can alternate. So what's my answer? 2 parts. X is less than or equal to -5.
Then -3 less than X.
Or -3 less than or equal to X less than or equal to -1. Yep. In an interval, -infinity to -5, or -3 to -1. Ooh, about time we got an easy one. Here's an easy one. Multiply everything by 10x.
Yeah.
10x would take care of it. So 5 goes into 10 twice, so this is 18x. That's 30. 7x. So 30 equals -11x. I got -30 over 11. You okay?
Yeah.
Easy. That was easy. You needed that one. What about that?
Got a factor.
We're gonna factor the denominators that factor. So there's one denominator that factors. And how does it factor? 2x and x.
2x minus 3x.
Have you noticed that almost always it factors into these? These problems are all rigged. They're all taken out of books. Or made up on a Saturday night when I don't have anything else to do but rig math problems.
This one was on my quiz.
Maybe it was on a quiz. Alright, factored my denominator. Now what do? Multiply by 2x minus 3, x plus 1. 2x minus 3, x plus 1. 2x minus 3, x plus 1. Jalen said this was a quiz question, so if this was on your quiz and you missed it, pay attention. Here we go. James Wayne?
What happened to the x on top with the -8?
Oh, is there an x up there?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to copy it down. Thank you, James. That would make a difference. Thank you. All right, so what have I got left here? 4 times x plus 1. X times 2x minus 3. Negative 8x. Does that look okay to everybody? So now we'll do some distributive. 4x plus 4 plus 2x squared minus 6x. And your distributive property. How did I get 6x?
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, hold on.
When my kids were little, one of their favorite books was this book about Grover, and it was Grover's Bad Awful Day. Sometimes I think I'm having a bad awful day. All right, now what? Combine these and get a 0, right? So I'm gonna have 2x squared plus x plus 4 equals negative 8x. So 2x squared plus 9x plus 4 equals 0.
Yep.
Now you're solving this. There's no number line in this problem. It's an equals. So if you want to go ahead and use the quadratic formula, that's fine. You're looking for what x equals. This one does factor. And if you see that, great. And if you don't see that, then you'll want to use the quadratic formula. Quick check. 8x and 1x gives me 9x. So what are my answers? I get two answers. They are x equals negative 1/2 or negative 4. And then I quickly glance up here and say, are those going to give me any trouble? Nope, they're not going to make anything 0. So my answers are those two. And we're ready for the last page, which is probably the easiest page, even though they're the word problems. Percent plus amount times percent equals amount times percent. Here we go. Oh, be careful. 9% would be 0.09. Make sure you don't put 0.9. It's 0.09 mixed with 0.03 to get 0.05. Now there's a 15. Where does that go?
15 minus x.
15 goes with the 5, right?
Yeah.
How much goes here? So So now our blank is in the middle of the problem. It's not 15 plus x, it's 15 minus x. So 0.09x.
Did you do x minus 15 or that one?
Oh no, it's gotta be 15 minus x. It's gotta be the total minus. Gotta be 15 minus x. Okay, so what is that? 0.45 minus 0.03x equals 0.75. So 0.06x. .06x equals 0.30. Did you get 5 gallons? Don't just copy mine down. I did it without a calculator.
Would we get it wrong if we didn't put the unit?
Look at the directions. Be sure to label your answer. You don't get it wrong, but you just don't get it perfect. All right, and finally we got Will and Zane painting the fence. So 1 over alone plus 1 over alone equals 1 over together. Here we go. Will and Zane can paint it together in 12 hours. It takes Will 15 hours alone. How long does it take Zane? What's that equation gonna look like?
1 over 15
1 over 15.
plus 1 over x equals 1 over 12.
How do the rest of you feel about that? Phenomenal. There's a smaller common denominator, but it's probably easier for you to multiply by 15, 12, and x. Don't have to. But we need a 15, a 12, and an x. You could multiply by 60. That would be a smaller common denominator, but we'll just do this. So what am I left with? 12x plus 15 times 12, 180 equals 15x. So 180 equals 3x. And x equals 60 hours. Takes him 60 hours to paint the fence.
That's more than 5. That's even take off time.
Okay? Everybody okay with that?
How does it take off time?
What do you mean, how's it take off time? Will by himself takes 15. Zane helps him, it only takes him 12. But because Zane is so slow, it doesn't help much to have him helping, but it helps him. Okay? So that's the whole test. All right. Get out the worksheet I gave you a long time ago. It's called Precal C Word Problem Worksheet 26 to 28. If you don't have it, take a picture of your neighbors and take a picture of mine. Everybody got one? James got a long time ago. James Wayne will find his, I guarantee it. Because he poked holes in it and popped it in his handy dandy notebook. We won't get this done, but this is homework. So we'll go ahead and get some of it done today, and we'll finish it tomorrow if we have time. Homework is due Thursday. I sent y'all an email. Sorry about the change. School makes me do it. It's due Thursday. Their early homework then has to be done on Wednesday. All right, so here we go. Number 1, can somebody set it up for me? It's a amount percent problem. Can someone set up number 1 for me? X times 0.35 plus 5 times 0.40 equals something times 0.36. And this is going to be 5 plus x right here, or x plus 5. Now, I didn't write my formula or anything. Does that make sense to you? Do all those numbers make sense? So 0.35x plus 2 equals 1.80 plus 0.36x. Please check my arithmetic.
Yes.
So now I'll subtract this. And I'm going to be really careful, hopefully using my calculator to help me. This is going to be 0.01x. So I got 20 pints. But I did it without a calculator, so check me.
Yeah.
Is that okay? All right, let's do one more. Let's get number 2 done. How much 19% must be mixed with 30% to get 18 gallons of 25%? So again, I didn't write my formula down. Are you following that? Here are my percentages. How much is my X? And they told me I was going to have 18 gallons down here. So what goes here?
18 minus X.
18 minus X. So 0.19X, 5.4 minus 0.30X equals 4.5. Collecting like terms, negative 0.11X. Negative 0.90, is that right? I need help here. X equals what? What's 0.90?
Yeah.
So 90 over 11, or what? 8.18. 8.18
repeated.
gallons. Okay. Well, we'll try to finish that up tomorrow. If we have a chance. Remember, tomorrow you have a quiz that has 2 problems on it. What are the problems on the quiz? One of these and one with painting the fence. Susie and Billy painting the fence together or something, right? Okay, have a great day. I will see you tomorrow.